students, welcome to my live teaching learning session of BPAG 174 Sustainable Development. In last session, we have discussed about what is the meaning of sustainable development, what is the scope of sustainable development, and what role played by sustainable development in whole world. Sustainable development play very important role, and sustainable development is very relevant concept in present scenario. Today we will discuss about what are the major components of sustainable development. Generally it has three components. Sustainable development has three components. One is economic component of sustainable development. Second is social sustainability. And third is environmental sustainability. Sustainable development is a very broader concept. In this, not only environmental protection included, but also included economic sustainability and social sustainability. Due to its broader concept and due to its broader area, world level and globally, sustainable development goals are decided and 17 goals are under this concept of sustainable development. Today we will discuss about all these three main components and the dimensions of sustainable development. There are three key components of sustainability. Most important thing is that the main components of sustainability is generally three, and these three components are social sustainability, environmental sustainability, and economic environmental. Now, what are the components that cover sustainable development? Which component we can include under this concept of sustainable development? You know that sustainable development is the development process that concerns the future of the planet. It considers the effects of human activities for development on the environment and the ecological system, and focuses on creating a better and clean environment for the future. Sustainable Now, what are the components that cover sustainable development? Sustainable development has three components. One is economic sustainability, next is social sustainability, and next is environmental sustainability. Now, what are the components that cover sustainable development? Before understanding these components, we should know about what is the meaning of this sustainable development. As you know that sustainable development is the development process that concerns the future of the planet. It considers the effect of human activities for development on the environment and the ecological system, and focuses on creating a better and clean environment for the future. Sustainable development refers to the development activities that meets the present generation needs without compromising the future generation to meet their own needs. With the increase in industrialization and technology, there was an increase in deterioration of the environment. And many of the natural resources are on the verge of depletion. As well as we are increasing industrialization, because industrialization is very necessary for the growth of the country. But if we are increasing more and more industrialization for achieving the higher growth rate of the country, but environmental degradation or environmental is deteriorate, then it will be not called sustainable development. It means we are achieving economic growth at the cost of environmental destruction. So we should use all the available resources in such a manner that our economic growth as well as sustainable development we both can achieve. There are three types of resources which are available in each and every country. In resource, soil, water, minerals, fossil fuel, land, etc. All these are called natural resources. Human resources in which human beings and all human capital formation is included. And third resource is physical or capital resources. With the help of these resources, each and every country can achieve higher growth rate of the country. But all these three resources are not equally available in each and every country. In some countries, they are rich in natural resources, like African continent is rich in natural resources. In Africa, there is abundant natural resources. But human capital formation and technological advancement is not present there. They are not rich in human resources. Human resources means population is too much in African continent, but they are not fully educated and medical facilities are also not available there. That's why they are not able to use available all natural resources fully. In Japan, they are rich in human capital formation and physical capital formation or technological development, but they don't have any natural resource. But with the help of human capital formation, they are improving and they are at present developed country and they have lots of good industrial production and they have modern and advanced technology. They are superior knowledge and their advanced technology is giving contribution in their growth. So sustainable development is that development in which we are able to use all the available resources in such a manner so that we can fulfill the present generation needs without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. Hence, humanity is forced to pay attention to the degradation of the environment. And sustainable development play a very important role in business. Sustainable development goals by resources. We should conserve all the available natural resources which is not made by man, which is given by God or by nature. The concept of sustainability is a complex approach which is considered the environmental problems caused by various human activities that require urgent and long lasting solutions. The social ripples take integrated and calculative measures to generate awareness against the need for sustainable development and promote the ways of achieving this sustainable development. Because this concept is not very simple and not a very narrow concept, it's a very complicated and broader concept because it includes all types of components which are necessary for the growth of the nation, like economic sustainability should be present in each and every country, social sustainability, in which poverty reduction, inequalities of income and wealth reduction, welfare of the country people, higher standard of living of the country people, increase in educational quality, increase in medical facilities, all these things should be available in each and every country. Then we can say that social sustainability can be exist in every country and we can achieve this social sustainability. And environmental sustainability deals with environmental problems and the solution for reducing the environmental deterioration or destruction. So, sustainable development is the main thing which we should focus on the achievement of this development. Only economic development and economic growth is not able to achieve this target. Sustainable development target will be achieved when economically each and every country will achieve sustainability, socially it will achieve sustainability, and environmentally it will achieve sustainability. Then we can achieve this sustainable development goals. Next is the concept of sustainable development covers the three main components of society, economic, ecological, and human component. Economic component, ecological means environmental component, and society or social component, in which human component we can say that. First of all, sustainable development. More than 40% of the world's population is under the poverty line. What is the meaning of poverty? Poverty is that situation when people are not able to fulfill their basic requirements of life like food, clothes, shelter, education, health, and sanitation. If people are not able to fulfill these basic requirements of the person's survival, then the person will be called poor. And poverty is really a curse for each and every person. In whole world, at present, near about 40% of the world population is still under the poverty line. and is unable to produce the least possible income which is needed for survival and for living their livelihoods. It affects the individual and national development because poverty is directly related with unemployment, and poverty and unemployment both are twins problems. They are interrelated with each other. If a person is poor, definitely he will be unemployed. And if a person will get employment opportunity, then he will not be called poor. So, if poverty exists in a country, it definitely affects the individual and national development. And the socio-economic well-being of the individual also remains stagnant. Hence, the economic component of sustainable development refers to the maximum flow of income in terms of rational use of, rational means ideally, or optimum use of resources, or economically use of resources, particularly scarce resources. We know that resources are scarce or limited, but wants are unlimited. If resources are limited and wants are unlimited, then we should use scarce resources economically or optimally or rationally, so that each and every resources should be used better and satisfy and will be able to satisfy our unlimited wants. For increment in the economic well-being of the developed countries, there is a need of structuring the quality and quantity of manufacturing the with new technologies. This is called economic component sustainable development. But the question arises, if the planet can support the manufacturing or the development activity is burdening the planet by degrading the environment, or the energy resources are getting depleted. Hence, the economic component is an important component where human needs to think of their economic well-being by keeping harmony with the environment. If we want to increase the standard of living of the country people and want to reduce the poverty of the country people, and to provide more employment opportunities, if government give more focuses on the development of industrialization but at the cost of environmental depletion or degradation, then sustainable development target can't be achieved. So, if we want to support the environment degradation, we want to reduce this, and we want to support environmental preservation or conservation of environment, and if we want to use ideally all the available energy resources or natural resources, then we should use all the available resources in such a manner that people will get maximum welfare without harming environmental activities. So, this is the economic component of sustainable development. Next is ecological component or environmental component. The ecological component refers to three main functions of the environment. First function is the power function of the resources. Second is waste receptor function. And third is direct utility. Utility is the want satisfying power. and environment is very necessary for every human beings, all species of the whole world. So ecological component play also very important role in the achievement of this sustainable development. And under this, three main functions of the environment included: one is the power function of the resources, waste receptor function, and direct utility function. Next is, these are directly related to how human use natural resources for their economic development. The Sustainable Development Goals, which is set by United Nations, the main aim of these goals are at creating a better world for future generation so that they can sustain in a peaceful environment and meet their own needs. Hence, the ecological development is closely related to economic development and its interrelation with environment protection and enhancement. Hence, the ecological component widely refers to the use of renewable resources. Natural resources are basically of two types. One is renewable and other is non-renewable. Renewable resources are those resources which can renew, which can use for further or in future we can easily use, we can increase the quantity of that resource. So we should use the renewable natural resources and preservance of the scarce or limited natural resources like crude oil is scarce natural resources. As our Earth is the only planet that is blessed with the various natural resources as an environmental heritage. So ecological component also play very important role in sustainable development. Next is human component. This is the third component of sustainable development. All the development activities are by humans and for humans. You know that human beings are very important for achieving the growth of the country because without human beings, we can't make more research and development, we can't innovate new technologies, we can't increase industrial sector, we can't do any activities. So humans beings, all the development activities are done by humans and for humans. Hence, human development is the most important component of sustainable development. Other than the environment, human sustainability is related to social interactions, behavioral activities, and the in relationship with each other, which leads to both social and economic development. If all human beings are highly educated and all human beings are getting good medical facilities and they all have good health and sound mind, then they can give more contribution in the achievement of economic growth and development. So human component play very important role in sustainable development because without human beings we can't use all the available natural resources, and technology is also developed or innovated by human beings. So human capital formation play very important role, and Japan development Japanese economy's development is related with human capital formation. They have rich in human capital resources. That's why they are doing well and achieving higher growth rate of the country. Hence, the human component of sustainable development aims at creating a stable and inclusive society to eliminate discrimination and feeling of loneliness within the individual of the society. Instead, it focuses on promoting human beings' well beings or living standard of the country people by understanding the needs of people from the place they stay and work. If people are getting employment opportunities, they will not be remain poor, and if their standard of living, if they will not be poor, it means their living standard will be higher, and if their living standard will be higher, they will live happily life and prosperous life. In that case, human development will exist in the economy. And if human beings are developed and they are not divided into rich and poor categories, and no inequality exists in the country, then country will live and country people will live in peace and harmony. That will also be the part of sustainable development. So these are the three main important components of sustainable development. One is economic component, second is ecological or environmental component, and third is human component. And all these components play very important role in the achievement of this sustainability or sustainable development. Next is the human components of sustainable development comprises of the following objectives. Promotion of how we can achieve this human capital formation or human development, promotion of education, training, and public support for the environment. If people are highly educated, they are well trained, and public support is also very necessary for the preservation of the environment, protecting and promoting human health for sustainable development goal, good health and well-being. Third is fight against poverty is also very necessary for achieving sustainable development goals, because eradicating poverty in all its form, if people, if we are able to reduce this poverty level, then definitely the standard of living of the country people will be higher. And if standard of living of the country people will be higher, they will get more education and they can give more contribution in the achievement of the sustainable development goals. Demographic threatening sustainable development by focusing on population growth, especially in developing countries. It's a threat. Population growth is the root cause of all the problems of the country. So, demographic threatening uh, sustainable development, because it is focusing on more population growth, especially in developing countries. Population is growing at a faster rate. That's why it's a bigger threat for achievement of this sustainable development target. So government should focus on the controlling of population growth, because as well as population increases, we will exploit all the available resources rapidly, and if all the available resources exploited rapidly, then present generation need will be satisfied, but at the cost of future generation need will not be satisfied. and we will not be able to achieve this sustainable development. Next is dimensions of sustainability. What are the main dimensions of sustainability? There are three dimensions that interrelated to each other. One is economic sustainability, second is social sustainability, and third is environmental sustainability. Economic sustainability tells us about the capacity of future generation to earn an income and allow for economic growth. Social sustainability includes that future generations having same or improved access to social resources such as human rights, political stability. And environmental sustainability, ensuring natural environment is used in a way that will preserve resources for future generation. When one dimension is not considered, it will impact the others. So all these three dimensions are interrelated with each other. If we want to achieve this sustainability target and all the goals of the sustainable development, which is fixed by United Nations globally, these three components or these three dimensions play a very important role in which economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability, all these dimensions should be present for the achievement of sustainability. If any one dimension is not considered or not taken, then this will impact the others. Next is we can show these three dimensions of the sustainable development with the help of this Venn diagram. Here in one circle, social sustainability or social dimension is mentioned, and second, economic sustainability dimension is mentioned, and in third circle, environmental sustainability dimension is mentioned. How we can achieve this social sustainability, or how, what is the meaning of this social dimension of the sustainability? Social means refers to the whole society or whole country people. Social dimension include quality of life, education, community development, equal opportunities, reduction in inequalities of income and wealth, justice, law, and ethics. All these are in social sustainability. And in economic sustainability, smart growth, long term planning, cost saving, minimizing cost, and maximizing the gains or profit, research and development spending, cost of living should be minimum, fair taxation policy emphasized by the government or adopted by the government, business ethics, trade, workers' right, government spending, all these are the part of economic sustainability. And environmental sustainability includes resource management. We know that there are three types of resources. One is human resource, other is natural resource, and third is capital or physical resources. All resources should be used in efficient way or in a economical way. So resource management is also very necessary for environmental protection. Environmental protection or environment conservation is also very necessary for environmental sustainability. And habitat restoration and preservation of the world, and at present about 40% of the world population are still living under BPL or below poverty line, and they are 40% people are not able to fulfill their basic needs, basic requirements, which is necessary for survival, like food, clothes, shelter, education, health. So poverty reduction, without doing this, government can't achieve a social dimension of sustainable development. So poverty reduction is very necessary, which is very necessary for the achievement of this sustainable development goal. Next is participatory development. Participatory development should also increase. It means each and every person should participate or should give more contribution in the achievement of country's growth. Next is NGOs, non-governmental organizations. Government should launch NGOs and should focus on these NGOs which are doing so many social welfare activities, which are mainly giving focuses for the betterment of the country people. And fourth is gender and development. There should be reduce in gender discrimination. Each and every person should be uh, should be provided same and equal opportunities. There should be no difference between male and female. And at present, in whole world, near about 49% ratio is for female and 51% ratio is for male. So there should be no discrimination exist in between of male and female. Gender and development should be necessary for the sustainable development. And involuntary resettlement, indigenous people, people should be indigenous, and inclusive growth should be exist in each and every country. Not only we should focus on exclusive growth, or if we are showing that our GDP is higher, near about 8% or 9%, but if country people are still living in poverty ratio and they are living under or below poverty line, they are not getting employment opportunities, then this type of development will not be called inclusive development. So food, clothes, shelter, education, health, sanitation is necessary for the achievement of inclusive growth as well as exclusive growth. Social exclusion, it means society or country people. We should not discriminate with country people according to their religion, according to their caste, according to their traditions or their beliefs, and according to their gender. Social exclusion tells us about these things. And social analysis, we should analyze socially for the betterment of the whole society. So these are the social dimensions of sustainable development. Next is economic dimensions. Economic dimensions. Economic dimensions include the food industry, like any other businesses, must also economically sustainable. Denmark gives high priority to the green transition and sustainable agriculture production, with agriculture and food production being an important industry for the country Denmark. Alongside structural development, Denmark has been reducing its environmental impact from agriculture for more than 30 years. This endeavor must continue and solutions must be found to ensure the economic resilience of agricultural enterprises so that there is a less waste and more added value. In each and every country should adopt this type of green transition and sustainable agriculture production. Not only in agriculture, we should follow this type of technique in each and every sector, like primary sector, in secondary sector, in tertiary sector. We should follow this green transition in which environmental protection will be held, and we should give more priority to the green transition and sustainable agriculture production, sustainable industrial production, sustainable tertiary sector. Uh, so then we can achieve this target of sustainable development. And Denmark is the good example for using this sustainability agriculture production. That's why economic dimension mainly tells us that we should use sustainability and preservation of all the resources, and we should use optimally or economically all the available resources. Then we can achieve this target. Next is environmental dimension. This is the third dimension of this sustainable development. Ecosystem should be saved. Criteria for ecological sustainability. We should use more renewable resources rather than non-renewable resources, because non-renewable resources can't be increased. That's why, as well as population is increasing, we should use more renewable resources. Renewable resources are those which we can regenerate or renew for the future generation use also. In development of substitutes, we should find out the resources for non-renewable resources, not exceed capacity of the environment. And non-renewable resources are those resources which can't be renewed, which can't be remade, which can't be generated. And so many years it takes too much years or so many years to make these non-renewable resources. That's why we should focus is on renewable resources use rather than non-renewable resources, and we should find out substitutes or alternatives of non-renewable resources. Third is environmental management. It involves oceans, freshwater system, land, and atmosphere should be protected. Management of human consumption like food, energy, materials, and water as measured by resource use. All the resources which is consumed by the human beings should be managed. And resource intensity and resource productivity also be managed. These all points are included in environmental dimension of the sustainable development. Next is, now sustainable development aims to balance these three elements, and these three elements are economic, environmental, and social. Economic environment means economic dimension of sustainable development is what things cost and how to make a business out of providing infrastructure, goods, or services. In economic element, we include how we can use maximum scarce resources and we can minimize the cost of production, and how to make a business out of providing infrastructure and more goods and services, how we can produce. Environmental dimension or element tells us what impact those things have on nature and the earth support system, which are finite in numbers, not infinite. And the social dimension tells us that how those things serve the needs and quality of life of people and their communities. So, the concept of sustainable development includes three main dimensions or three main elements, which is very important for the achievement of this sustainable development: environmental dimension, social dimension, and economic dimension. In environmental dimension, we should protect the environment, we should use available natural resources in economical way or in optimal way. And in social dimension, we should nurturing the community, we should reduce the poverty, and we should reduce the inequality of income and wealth. We should improve the standard of living of the country people and reduce the discrimination of gender. And in this way, we can achieve this social dimension. And in economic dimension, economy should be self-sufficient, not dependent on other nations, and economy should use all the available resources efficiently or economically without any waste. Then present generation needs as well as future generation needs can be satisfied. So, this is the three elements which we should make balance in between of these three elements of the sustainable development. Next is here some livelihood approach given by the United Nations and other globally. It is decided that how a sustainable development approach can be achieved. People centered. Here, people, rather than the resources, they use or the priority concern in the livelihood approach. Since problems associated to the development often root in adverse institutional structure and impossible to be overcome through simple asset creation. If livelihood approach are generally based for people centered, it is related with people because livelihood, it means economy should focus for the country people livelihood and reduce the poverty level so that each and every country people should earn for their basic, for the fulfillment of their basic needs or requirements. Second is holistic approach. A holistic view is aspired in understanding the stakeholders like livelihoods as a whole with all its facts by a manageable model that helps to identify the most pressing constraint people have to face. This is the livelihood approach of sustainability, in which some points are mentioned here. In which first point is people centered, second is holistic, third is dynamic. Just as people's livelihood and the institutions that shape their life are highly dynamic, we know that we all are living in a dynamic world and each and everything is changing. So is the approach in order to learn from changes, and it will help us to mitigate negative impacts whilst supporting positive effects. And fourth is building on strength. A central issue of this livelihood approach is the recognition of everyone inherent potential for his or her removal of constraints and realization of potentials or capacity. Identify the strength of the person, strength of the people, rather than the needs and problems in the starting point of this approach. In order to contribute the stakeholders' robustness and ability to achieve their own objectives. Macro micro link. Macro is related with whole and micro is related with individual, and uh, this approach focuses on both the area macro and micro links. Development activities tends to focus at either the micro and macro level, whereas the this approach, which is livelihood approach, sustainability SLA is sustainability livelihood approach, tries to bridge or tries to fill this gap in stressing the link between the two levels. As people are often affected from decisions at the macro policy level and vice versa, this relation needs to be considered in order to achieve sustainable development. And next is sustainability. A livelihood can be classified as sustainable if it is resilient in the face of external shocks and stresses, if it is independent from external support, if it is able to maintain the long term productivity of natural resources, and if it does not undermine the livelihood options of others. So, these are the points which indicating the sustainability livelihood approach. This sustainability livelihood approach includes all these points like people centered, holistic, macro micro link, sustainability, and building on strengths, dynamic, etc. All these are included in SLA, like sustainability, livelihood approach. Next is why we need green growth. Why green growth is important for nation or for a whole world. For the past 250 years, economic growth has come largely at the expenses or at the cost of the environment. The damage has reached a scale that threatens human welfare and prospects for future growth. And despite impressive gains in the last 2 decades, many basic needs remain unmet or unsatisfied. Here, 2 decades of unprecedented growth have greatly improved welfare. Poverty ratio was 42% in 1990. In 2005, 25% poverty rate, and in 2015, 15% poverty rate, but not without a significant toll on the environment. 13 million hectares of forest lost annually between 2000 and 2010, an area of the size of Nicaragua lost each year. Same as increase in water withdrawals in last 50 years, leading to water scarcity. And people without access to sanitation, and people without electricity, without sanitation people, numbering is 2.6 billion. Without electricity, numbering of people is 1.3 billion. And people without safe, clean drinking water is the numbering is 900 million. It means green growth concept is very important and very relevant at present, because we are we are achieving higher economic growth but at the cost of environment. But environment should be protected, otherwise human beings can't live long life in this world. Next is effects of economic growth on environment. Natural resources are essential input for production in many sectors, while production and consumption also leads to pollution and other pressure on the environment. Natural resources are limited, so adverse uses of natural resources has negative effect on environment. So if we rapidly use all the available resources for the achievement of economic growth, then environment will be hampered. Now we can conclude from today's session that sustainable development addresses economic, social, and environmental problems and issues, and it creates long-term effects. It involves people or society, and involve people tells us about social dimension of this sustainable development and conserve natural resources included in environmental sustainability dimension and self-sustained and dependent. So all these are the major components of sustainable development. Thank you.